We're here to celebrate tonight the 21 years that Reverend Dr. Rev Swartz has shared with us at this location. And we'd also like to invite you to come tomorrow morning for our service at 10:30, followed by a reception, again celebrating these 21 wonderful years. At this point, I would like to ask the Reverend Kathy Laws, who is the Associate Conference Minister for the Western Association of the Illinois Conference, to say a few words. Reverend Laws.
Good evening. Good evening. What a joy to be part of this wonderful celebration, and on behalf of the Illinois Conference of the United Church of Christ, it's a pleasure to greet you and to say how much we have valued the ministry of Michael Swartz, his witness, his faithful commitment to those whom Jesus loved, his willingness to dig in and not just dictate, his attention to detail, his faithfulness. He has been a highly esteemed colleague, a terrific preacher, a servant of the Lord. And I join with you in thanking him for his years of ministry here at the Church of Peace at 12th and 12th.
We would like to retrace the steps that Michael took on his way to becoming our pastor. At some point, he responded to a call from God. Just what this calling sounded like, we don't know. Perhaps it was just notes carried by the wind. We do know he was born at an early age in Indiana and moved to California with his family.
He left his home. but Michael was not one to sit quietly and fold his hands. He was much more active, and oftentimes my mom would get a call from the teacher to come and get him or come to school for a conference, that kind of thing. But even then, he had a way with words. So that towards the end of the year, he wrote a song about the classroom parakeet named Mr. Sunny. His teacher gushed over this accomplishment. She printed it out for everybody to see, and I think they all sang it at the end of kindergarten. So then as he was a little bit older, it was like about 6 or 7, I'm not sure, Saturday mornings were an event for him. He would sit cross-legged in front of the black and white. It was about, I guess, 16 inches, maybe 17. He'd wear his fatigues and his combat boots, and he'd have his toy rifle across his knees, and he would sit there and watch the action shows, the cartoons, for hours, until Mom would finally make him get up and do something different. Then, when he was about 8 or 9, he held a fair. He organized the fair. It was in our backyard, or in our yard. We had a big yard at the time, and several of his friends were doing different things, and they were raising money. And he wore my mom's reconstructed purple gaucho outfit with the vest and the pants, and they were kind of shorter pants, and he had some Indian fabric that he twisted around in a turban on top of his head, and he called himself Swami Schwartz. He read poems and he told fortunes, and for 10 cents each. And I don't know how much money he made, but he did all right. He did. When he was a little older than that, he liked to play basketball behind the house. We had an alley, and people next to us had a basketball goal. And one of the things that he and the basketball friends did was they smoked butts that they could find in the alley. And so after school one time, I caught him and I told him that if he kept smoking those butts, it would stunt his growth, and he was already short. And then he didn't need to fall further behind. So, and I told him that I wasn't going to tell on him, but if I found him doing it again, I would. I never did, by the way. Maybe he just got sneakier, I'm not sure. After that, there was a time when he was 6 and I was 12. And I would tell him that I was twice as old and twice as smart as he was. Now, he didn't like that too much. And then one day he had a comeback. He said that this was just a one-time thing. It would only last a year or a little less. And that after that, it would never come again. And I just got really smug and I said, no, I'm your older sister, and I'll always be older and wiser than you.
his marriage began in California. It was there that his ministry extended to immigrants and other nationalities. His wife Nancy shares these times.
Well, we were married in 1982 in Long Beach, California. And for those of you women in the audience, you will remember that the 80s were a time of very interesting hair. Big hair. Crazy hair. So when I was asked to look for some photos to have in this whole presentation, I found lots of really bad hair photos of me in the 80s. When my children were born, you know, perms that kind of went wrong, things that just went bad. So I started thinking about those years, and what I remember is how incredibly patient Michael was with the birth of our children. Now, as you just heard Michael's sister Gloria, did she do a fabulous job? Gloria has two daughters. One of them is here with us tonight, Candy. Candy and her sister Crystal were born in the same year. We're not going to talk about that, but that's really what happened. So Gloria had two little babies that were very demanding. And Michael kind of was, I don't know if he was hired, but he helped as kind of a nanny, if you will, when they were younger, because his sister needed the extra support. And I thought that was pretty cool. So Michael had been around diapers and he had been around babies before, and he was very mellow around children. I, on the other hand, was in panic mode when my children were born. So what I appreciated about Michael was his calming, very calming presence when our children were born. The other thing that you need to know is that I am a dog person and Michael is a cat person. And when we married, some friends of ours gave us a cat. And the cat traveled with us from Southern California in the car up to our parsonage in the Bay Area. And that cat was born on a farm and ran around and was a barn cat. And when we got home, Michael said to me one day, "Don't get used to the cat." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, because the cat is lying in the middle of the street. He thinks he's still on the farm. He doesn't understand that he's in the city." And we also had a dog for me. And then the cat stayed with us for almost 15 years, so don't worry about the cat. The cat was fine. But I think one of the things in this journey for me has been the incredible sense of family that you get. You know, Michael and I, our family was all in Southern California, our parents and you know, siblings and things. And we were up in the Bay Area, and if you look at the map of California, it's a pretty long state. We'd have a lot of friends from Iowa come, and they'd want to do like SeaWorld and Disneyland and Universal Studios all in one day. Can we do that all in one day? And we would try to explain to people, you know, it's a really long state, and you can't go to the Golden Gate Bridge and to Los Angeles in the same day. It's about a 9-hour drive. So one of the things that was tough was we did live kind of far away from our family, but we always knew we had a family everywhere we went in this journey of ministry. And especially here, because here was really far away, like 3,000 miles away. And so I just have to say how much I appreciate that. In terms of a spouse, I couldn't have found a better one. It's interesting to share your spouse kind of in a fishbowl like this. It's very interesting. It was always very interesting for me to hear people discuss my husband's salary at church board meetings. That was new for me. I had to get some thick skin for that one. But anyway, I am most looking forward to having a thing I've heard about. It's called a weekend getaway. And apparently you get in your car on Friday and you get to come home on Sunday night. And you can go somewhere for the whole weekend. Apparently people do this. I don't know what that's like, but I'm going to learn what that's like. There is much more to say, but we will say it in other times and places. Thank you.
Imagine packing up your family and moving them from sunny California to Davenport, Iowa, which has some sun too. It's almost like Beverly Hillbillies in reverse. But Michael was still searching for that song that called him. Bob Hickman was a fellow Iowan, and Bob intended to be here to share his remembrances of their time in Iowa together. Couldn't be here, but we do have his comments down to be shared. His friendship with Michael began when Michael was an associate pastor of St. John's Methodist Church in Davenport. Bob was not in favor of hiring Michael there at St. John's. Bob sat on the finance committee and could read between the decimal points. How could the church afford another pastor when there was barely enough to pay the electric bill? Despite Bob's opinion, Michael was hired. Bob recognized a kindred spirit in Michael. They were the same age, both California guys, products of the 70s decade. Bob looked at Michael and saw his long hair, his wife with her own name, his ability to select a good red wine and not afraid to drink it in public, and he drove Volvo, one of them foreign cars. He was quite a contrast to the man who hired him, Dr. Worthy Usher. Michael formed a Sojourners Club. Everyone in it was not from Iowa. They became family to each other and shared their own extended families. What Bob remembers most is the laughter. Michael is very funny. Bob's son Jeremy was babysitting Taylor and Becca one evening. They had been watching a pizza commercial about hand-tossed pizza. The girls tried it with their pizza. Jeremy called for help because their pizza was now stuck to the ceiling. and then continued as senior pastor. There are many facets to this work. Connie Hayes directs the CCC, the Community Caring Conference. Connie?
Hello, everybody. I had to look over at Pastor Swartz to see what he has on, because when he has on the official collar, I refer to him as pastor. When he has on a suit and tie, it's reverend. And today he has on casual, so he's Michael. And the good news is he will answer by either one. Ever since Michael joined the Community Caring Conference many years ago, 21 to be exact, he has served on the board of directors and the personnel committee, which he made the good choice to select me as director in 2007, so I thank you for that. He has also seen 3 directors come and go, including Pat Ward, but she will always be here if I have anything to say about it. Not to mention the CCC staff that is coming and go. It will be an honor to have him on our Hall of Fame for 2010. So we do have a Hall of Fame, and he will be honored with that. I met Michael in 2001 when I began my tenure at CCC. I was the neighborhood improvement organizer, and one of my duties was to set up the monthly breakfast for the Longview Clergy Association. I must truly say, although Michael lives in Bettendorf, he has always been a community member of Rock Island. He serves on the Rock Island Economic Growth Board, Rock Island Kiwanis Club, Quad City Interfaith, Churches United of the Quad Cities area, Rock Island Clergy, World Relief, the Child Abuse Council, Promoting Healthy Communities Initiative, Rock Island County NAACP, and the Transportation Equity Task Force. And he also participates in the annual Thanksgiving service with local pastors in the West End. He and the Church of Peace have adopted the Rock Island Academy as their partner with its Book Nook program, and they also feed lunch to the staff at the Academy every year. He has also agreed, and this just happened recently, he's going to be the interim director of QC Air organization that represents immigrants and refugees. But seriously, Michael has given me advice on various issues. We've disagreed, we've debated, we're both from Indiana, so we have that connection. We've debated issues from politics to people, as well as dealt with the slings and arrows that have come over CCC and the Church of Peace and the neighborhood. However, everything he has done because of his commitment to CCC and the neighborhood and Rock Island. Michael's office is next to mine, and I will miss him saying, "Good morning, Connie," always. And then when he leaves, he will always say, "Hey, I'm leaving. You're in the building by yourself." So I will miss that. But the main thing that I will miss about Michael is signing our payroll checks every 2 weeks. On behalf of CCC, we are not dismayed in saying goodbye to Michael. A farewell is necessary before you can meet again. And meeting again after moments or lifetimes is certain for those who we consider a friend, and that is definitely Michael. Thank you.
said she wanted me to talk about pastors' influence with the neighborhood mission. I said I'd be glad to do this, as he has been my mentor from the beginning of my employment 10 years ago. But then she told me I only had 4 minutes. 4 minutes to talk about all the programs that go on here at the Church of Peace. Not that I enjoy speaking in front of people, but I told her that was impossible and we'd be a little late for dinner. Pastor has always had an open mind about what the neighborhood needed. Even though his children were raised and beyond the diaper stage, he realized that it was hard for some of these girls and women in the community to purchase diapers for their babies when they were on a limited income. None of us want to think about babies wearing one diaper all day long. So the Diapers for Baby Jesus program was started, and this allows us to distribute diapers to those who do not have the cash to purchase diapers for their babies. When one of our outreach directors, Rachel, and I approached Pastor about turning the Sunday school superintendent's office into a food pantry, he supported us and helped us get the program started with the help of Churches United. Today, under a new outreach director's influence, Church of Peace serves approximately 73 people, representing 293 household individuals each month. 9 years ago, when the Rock Island School District approached us about hosting a lunch program during the month of July, Pastor was the first to say that we would be excited to help them out and feed the children during that month. Little did he know that the program would turn out to be as large as it is, and that it would actually take over the entire summer schedule around the church. Pastor was the one who encouraged me to apply for after-school program certification from the state of Illinois, so we could serve after-school programs. I was excited about it too, until it turned out to be 3 times the paperwork that we were used to in summer programming. I wanted to just give up and realize that it was something we could not do. But he kept after me to pursue the end results. And after 5 long months of corresponding, creating documents, bugging the treasurer for financial paperwork, and sorting through mounds of email, we finally received the certification and started serving the after-school programs. He was even more thrilled than I was. When Virginia Jarrett came knocking on our door about a family literacy program in partnership with the school district and Blackhawk College, Pastor jumped at the chance to house the schooling for the immigrants. He knew how important it was to teach them not only our language, but how to live in America's environment. I could go on and on about the programs here at Church of Peace, but of course I only have 4 minutes. So I'm going to end my portion with a program Pastor supported that completely took me aback. The parish nurse and I applied for and received a grant from the Susan Coleman Group of the Quad Cities. With the monies, we prepared and copyrighted a visual aid booklet that explains women's health to immigrant women. This normally would not be a favorite subject with men, but Pastor supported it and encouraged us to continue with the project, even when we ran into roadblocks at getting it finished. And when it was finished, he hosted a press conference introducing it to the public so we could get the publicity that he thought we needed. When he talks about the subject, he actually gets a little teary-eyed, as he calls it, because he has such compassion for these women. And he knows what this book means to them and their health. His emotions for this population and making sure they are getting the health care they need are heard by everyone who hears him speak about the subject. Now, don't get me wrong, Pastor and I do not agree on everything. He gives me all sorts of grief about being a Lutheran. And he thinks I am too emotional and naive when it comes to certain people and their stories. We have one client that comes regularly to our door looking for food. Pastor tells me that I need to tell him that the food pantry is only open on Saturdays, and he should be visiting the other pantries in Rock Island. The problem is, this man looks like pictures of Jesus. And who's going to tell Jesus no? I will miss being able to knock on Pastor's door, take a seat, and run different scenarios by him for his opinion. He always makes me situation. I have learned a lot from him about neighborhood missions and what the Church of Peace stands for on the block of 12 and 12. Pastor, I wish you the best, and thank you for the opportunity of becoming a part of this gratifying neighborhood and community mission.
Will sum up Michael's years here as pastor.
The Rock Island Years. This is a poem that I wrote. What? You hired a Methodist minister whose wife didn't take his name? That's right. And 20 years later, we're so glad you came. Those 20 years produced memories galore. Here are a few random remembrances, but there are so many, many more. I enjoyed, you were new, and we met to chat about Church of Peace at Eugene Field School. You brought coffee for us both, and I'm thinking, this Rev is pretty cool. I enjoyed our occasional conversations over coffee, good and strong. We talked of church stuff and how our daughters were coming along. Your spring and summer haircuts were always lots of fun. The beard and mustache would come and go, gradually lightening some. And oh, the baptism services, so dear and unforgettable. Some babies laughed, some slept, some screamed, a moment a bit regrettable. The work camps, book nook, diapers for baby Jesus, summer feeding program, etc., were fueled by your vision and energy, you betcha. Your interest in the Longview neighborhood was genuine and sincere. The desire you had to help others was abundantly clear. Day camps still linger in my memories. They were swell. John Deere, Putnam, juice boxes, sack lunches, silk screening, ring a bell. Couldn't forget to mention one annoying fact. That is the aggravation you had with ants and rats and bats. Remember the last day of the feeding program at Lincoln Park? Watermelons to cut, hot dogs to grill, ice cream to scoop, popcorn to pop. Oh, what a lark. I'll remember you lighting the first candle at the service on Christmas Eve. With candles glowing and silent night ringing, how could one not believe? Your cozy Christmas open house was a lovely festive time. And the liver pate, the liver pate, was a favorite of mine. You taught us to err on the side of grace and to charge a little so one could save face. And oh, the sweetness that reigned when you took Nancy's hand to walk down the aisle at the service's end. To Nancy, Taylor, Becca, and Harrison, are there any like you under the sun? You are smart and oozing talent, not to mention a ton of fun. We'll fill a void around here as our hearts you have won. We will miss you, yes, miss you, yes, miss you a ton. You will all be remembered in so many special ways, and may your Church of Peace memories be a blessing every day. And so, Michael, thanks for 20 years of memories, friendship, sharing, and serving. Now on to new work and vision, a nap, and some fun, because you are so deserving. Happy retirement.
He had taught us all to love our neighbor, please join our singing? We seem to have forgotten to put something in the program. Michael, would you and Nancy please come up here? Now, although Michael has already found a part-time job, I'm not sure if it's under Nancy's urging or he will have more time on his hands. Yes. We want to see.
Problem is I have to get it here in the light so I can see what it is. Here's the file, and it says, a time to every purpose, 1991, Church of Peace, 2012. Now, that's wonderful. And Willie McGivern is a person that I've come to know since I've been here, and I have a feeling, I'm not positive. You want to tell me more about this watch?
This is not a watch, and I believe the history is included in the box, or somewhere here, but
Yeah.
there is a history.
Lots of watches.
Well, I don't know that I should plug a watch company that actually moved out of Rock Island. But they know I like this kind of stuff.
Oh, really?
I would like to say thank you to everyone for pulling this together tonight. Things like this don't happen without a lot of planning and preparation. And I've seen a fair amount of buzzing around the building over time, and now I know what it was all about. There's no way that I can talk about the appreciation I have for the last 20-some years in just a moment or two, but I would like to express my gratitude. I feel like the Church of Peace has been a place that has allowed me to grow into some things that I always wanted to do. I did a kind of an informal survey with some of my minister friends a few years back, and was asking what really motivated us in ministry, and for the most part it came back fairly similar, is that one would like to feel like they had some influence in doing something positive and have enough support from their community to be able to pull that off. And I feel like this community has really given me that kind of positive support. You know, I get named as the kind of figurehead for a lot of things that happen in the community and a lot of relationships that the church has formed. But you can't do that unless you've got a community that is willing to make that more than just words. And our community has, our church, our congregation, and has really been the kind of group that was willing to roll up their sleeves and get with it to make things happen. And so that's given me a whole lot more what I would call street cred in the time that I've been here, because we deliver, and our word means something when we're able to make a commitment to be part of a community thing. I believe that the heritage that we have really goes back way beyond the time that I was here. And talk about a blessing in disguise that I always remember, I did a little work on the history of the church, and you've heard all this before, but I'll say it again, that's what happens as you get older. But there was a conference minister by the name of Hurston Butterfield who opined in the early 70s that, it really didn't matter what this church did because they were going to be dead in 5 years anyway. And we're glad to say, along with Mark Twain, that the news of our death has been greatly exaggerated. But when you have a near-death experience, it does often clarify your mind. And I really give credit to Ken Kenny for bringing it to a head and voting as to whether the church was going to stay in this location or move up on top of the hill where most of our members live. And the decision was to stay here. Well, in some ways that's no big surprise. Most of us aren't that big on change. And if you'd been married here and grandma had been buried from here, there were a lot of sacred memories that went on. But the real genius of what Ken and the committee at that time were able to do was that they came to the conclusion that a vote to stay was a vote to be in ministry in our strategic location. And that decision was taken in about 1975. And we've stuck with that. And it's a long time to become consistent. But, 75, 85, 95, 105, 115, that's been almost 40 years. And so we've been able to plug away and to do different programs, but at the same time to be consistent in our faithfulness to be in mission and ministry at the corner here. And so as I said to the paper, I was just grateful that I haven't managed to screw it up in the time that I've been here. I feel like I've continued to carry forward that direction that we took at that time. And I found it very meaningful, and I have found your friendship to me and to my family to be extremely valuable. And so God bless you, and thank you so much. Thoughtful and remarkable gift. Thank you.
as Reverend Kenning comes forward for the blessing of the meal, I'd like to advise you that you will be dismissed by rows for dinner, similar to a wedding service, and exiting through the chapel, where the honorees will be there and may greet you. The serving will begin immediately upon arrival down in Fellowship Hall. Reverend Ken Kenny.
Let us unite in the spirit of prayer. Eternal God, we've come here this evening to celebrate. And celebrate is what we've been doing. We gathered this evening to honor Michael Swartz for his ministry to the members of the Church of Peace over these past 21 years. And we are grateful for the support of family and loved ones. And many of them have traveled great distances to be here. And we're grateful for their presence. Well, God, we are grateful for the leadership that Michael has given, for his preaching, his counsel, his teaching, his humor, his friendship. We thank you for his witness in the neighborhood and community about Christian love. We thank you for his service to the larger church through association and conference committees. We thank you for his special interest and work in Chiapas, Mexico, on behalf of the Illinois Conference of the United Church of Christ. And we are indeed humbled by Michael's words that these were among his most happy years in ministry, because it does reflect the responsiveness, the positive responsiveness by the congregation to his leadership. And we thank you that he's had the privilege to be here to see some of the fruits of his labor. Oh God, we thank you for Nancy, his partner in life and in ministry. She won our hearts at the very first meeting. She also is a many-talented person, freely giving and sharing her gifts. Through her spirit, her singing, and just her presence. We here at the Church of Peace have been privileged to see their daughters, Taylor and Rebecca, grow from childhood to talented, educated young adults. What a joy. Each has been blessed, and they will be a blessing in the future, in the years ahead. It's our prayer, Lord, that Michael will find joy and purpose in his retirement, and that he will be privileged to enjoy good health many, many years. And for fellow clergy, Michael has indeed been a good and a trusted colleague. For the congregation, for the Church of Peace, oh God, we ask your blessings. It isn't easy to let go. But we ask that you would give us your continued guidance, blessings, and grace as we search for new pastoral leadership. And now as we proceed to the tables in the fellowship hall for the evening banquet, we ask, Lord, that you would bless us with your Spirit's presence. Bless the hands that have prepared the food, and may it strengthen us in our service to you. For the food that soon will be before us, for family and friends and fellow believers about us, for the love and trust among us, we give you thanks, O Lord. Amen.
Our ushers, Pat and Carol, will now begin the departure down to Fellowship Hall, and I do believe we have a musical departure, St. James Infirmary, I believe. That's our 12th Street Band. Basically, it's a Waitani Cedarquist band with a few friends. So, Mary Kay and Jessica were the masterminds of this whole thing. So I would like to thank them for setting all of this up and for all this.